Today I'm going to talk to you about the Muay Thai Round Kick. Okay? I get a lot of questions about Muay Thai Round Kick. I did a lot of videos on YouTube about the side kick and the front kick, not so much about the Muay Thai Round Kick. So I'm going to address one very specific issue. Power in Muay Thai kick. There's a few different reasons why people may have issues with power in Muay Thai kick. It has more to do with technique than with anything else. Okay? It has more to do with technique. So the very basic thing that you need to understand is that when you throw a Muay Thai kick, you got to move in a direction of the force to the maximum. The mass of your body has to go in the direction of the force. Your opponent is in front of you. You step forward. You're not moving your mass in the same direction where the force is going to go. Okay, I'm talking about a rear right leg Muay Thai Roundhouse Kick. Okay, a round kick as you want to call it. So here, at the moment of impact, I'm throwing it low or waist level now. At the moment of impact, the force is perpendicular to your line of attack. Your line of attack is forward, and the force is perpendicular. Okay? Now, you have to move toward your opponent. So you cannot move to the side and throw the kick to the side. You will have to move forward a little bit, but you cannot move forward completely. You cannot move forward and throw the kick forward. If you do that, you overextend. If your opponent is too far from you, you move forward too much, you overextend. If you overextend, you're not going to have any power. So your opponent has to be in the right distance from you. That's number one. You're not going to have power if he's too far. Of course, you're not going to have any power if he's closer than you need distance. Okay? The first thing, where we move 45 degrees. Okay? We get a little bit to the side of your opponent. Okay? Either through moving around or allowing your opponent to get there through certain fakes. And once you're there, you step at that angle, you throw the kick. Okay? Now, most good fighters know that there's nothing new here. Okay? If you're a beginner, maybe you don't know these things. Now, I'm going to show you a bunch of exercises now to develop the power, but to develop the power through technique, not so much to develop the power through your muscles themselves. Okay? Now, very often the point of elastic steel is not so much to look at what somebody's doing and say, kick harder. Okay? That is the lowest level of instructions. If someone throws a kick and you say, well, you're kicking down here, I want you to kick up here, you have a pad and you go kick high, kick high, kick high. Or the person is not kicking hard enough and you keep saying kick harder, kick harder. That is the lowest level of instruction. Okay? If you don't know anything as an instructor, but you could tell that somebody's not kicking high enough or is not kicking hard enough, you will say that. Okay? Now the next level is to see the difference between your technique and their technique. You could recognize the difference. You could see yourself do the movement, you could see them do the movement. Okay? And when you see that, you could say, okay, look, this is how you do it, and this is how I do it. Okay? So that's the next level up. And then you sort of move with them and say, look, this is what you do, this is what I want you to do. You take your foot, you place it here. You take your weight, you shift it here, you shift it forward. Okay? That is the next level up. After that, what you would do is you would say, okay, now I'm going to show you specific exercises. Why is your body not allowing you to do the kick correctly? Do you not have enough strength? Maybe to shift that weight into that leg and hold it and spin back? Do you not have enough flexibility? Okay? What's flexibility with Thai kick? You don't need any flexibility, right? It's you know, especially if you kick to the leg, you kick to the midsection, you don't need any flexibility. Well, the good fighters, the good Thai fighters have plenty of flexibility in their hips. Okay? And right now, talking about power specifically, we're going to talk about rotational flexibility and how to build it. Okay? So when you step forward, regardless if you're going to rotate after the kick, you're going to rotate on the ball of your foot, you're not going to rotate on the ball of your foot, regardless. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to turn that leg out in preparation for the kick. So you shift the weight, you turn that leg out. Okay, turn it out as much as possible. And what you do here is you create a stretch. You stretch the muscles on this leg, you stretch the muscle on this leg. Okay, as soon as that stretch is felt, you go for the kick. Of course, you don't do it, you know, like that. You don't step, feel the stretch. Okay, now I feel it. Okay, I think I'm ready to go. Let's stretch a little bit more. Boom. No, it's one fluid movement. Okay, but you need that flexibility. The more you can open up your hips, the more you can go into the target. Okay, the more you can get into the target. So now, having said that, I'm going to show you a few exercises that are going to enable you to open up your hips a lot, which will enable you to grip the ground further and go through the target further. Okay, once again, it doesn't matter if you're going to spin on the ball of your foot or you're not going to spin on the ball of your foot. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you're going to spin. The more you open your hips, the more power you're going to get, because you're going to get more pull. Okay, the same thing, I want you to think of it this way. I'm going to show front leg kick now. Okay, I step here, and this is as far as I can go. Okay, as far as I can go, because now my supporting leg doesn't let me. I can counterbalance all I want. However, if that leg is turned out more, I have more to go through with a kick. Okay, so obviously I cannot completely turn around. I have to rely on the flexibility of that leg to turn around by itself. Okay, so now the exercise to do that. When you turn your leg out, you turn it out from the knee a little bit, but you want to turn it out from the hip as much as possible. Why? Because once you turn it and you plant it, the muscles that are going to pull you in are going to be the muscles that you have stretched right now. You do not want to rely on the knee pulling you in. You want to rely on that hip pulling you in. So the power comes in from the inward rotators. You have to stretch them as much as possible for both the hip and the knee, preferably for the hip as much as possible, and then they're going to pull that kick behind it. Okay? Of course, there's rotation, and we rely on rotation, the body counterbalances and all that, but that planted leg is where the power comes from the ground. You can't do that kick hanging in the air, so you do it from the ground. Okay? Now, a few exercises that are going to allow you for that rotation. Okay? Specifically for the kick, the rotation is different for different kicks. Okay, we're talking about Muay Thai Roundhouse Kick right now. Okay, so what I want you to do, the first thing I want you to do is work on the flexibility of your hip flexors. Hip flexors do not act by themselves. Hip flexors also work together with your adductors. Okay, so we're going to do a lunge stance. We're going to do a lunge stance here. Okay, we're going to hold this position. We're going to build the strength here. We're also going to build the flexibility here. And we're going to keep holding this position on both sides. And you should do this for at least a few weeks. Okay? Ideally, you would have your knee and your hip at the same level and this knee straight. Okay? If you can get down there, you know you can move on. Once again, this knee, this hip at the same level, back knee is not down. Back knee is straight. Okay? So we have that first. Second thing you're going to do is the warrior position. Okay, so first you're going to be in this position here. You want to get down where the knee and the hip are at the same level again. Okay, that's for your flexibility part. For your strength endurance part, you want to hold this for at least a minute on each side. Okay, after you did the lunge stance. Once you did that, things began to get a little bit more tricky. Okay, now we're going to start developing more strength flexibility on the upper adductors of the rear leg. Okay, so to do that, you're still going to be here, but now we're going to be rotating. I don't want you to rotate just from your shoulder. I want you to rotate, notice what I'm doing, from the hips. Okay, from the hips. One more time. When this position here, you begin to rotate from the hips. If you can't do that, you'll get a little bit higher and you rotate from the hips. You rotate from the hips here. Okay? Now, why is that done that way specifically for that kick? Once you throw the kick, you step over to the side. Okay? Notice when you throw that kick, your body is going to go back. Your body is not going to go forward. Your body is going to go back. Okay? So notice what happens here. Your hip turns out, your knee turns out, and the hips go forward first. Forward first, and then the body comes up, leg goes, okay? The body comes up a little bit, still leaning back, so you have that hip forward, okay? So to work specifically on that specific part of the kick, what we have to do here is once we're in this position, I'm going to show it higher, but you're going to have to do it as low as possible every time, okay? You're going to turn this leg out, okay? This does not resemble the kick yet. Front leg turns out, and we go back. Okay? When we go back, this glute gets contracted. This glute gets contracted. Number one, this protects the low back. Number two, the glutes contract, and then the glutes relax, and the kick goes. Okay? So we have to learn that part. So here, this is what we're going to do. Once you master the basic lunge stance, you master this position, you master this position. Now we turn the front leg out, bring the hips forward, we hold this position. Okay? Do the same thing on the other side. Master this position first. Then you're going to master this position. You're going to turn here. Okay? Master this position after that. Then we're going to have this leg turn out. Then we're going to have the hips forward, like so. Okay? Now, it is exactly the same as you would do for your kicks. No, the position of the body is different. The position of the hip is the same. Okay, the position of the hip is the same. This is not done to teach you the position. Okay, this is not a skill that builds up to another skill. This is not a skill that builds up to your kick. Not a skill at all. It's a stretching and strengthening technique for your hip, which will allow you to turn that leg out, to plant it further, so that once you pull the kick, it goes deeper through the target. Okay, so it has that more of the range of motion pull through the target. Okay, so this is a tip on how to develop more power in Muay Thai round kick through the development of this exercise, through the development of flexibility. Okay, I talk a lot about external internal rotators. You see a lot of my videos, they talk about external internal rotators. A lot of power is there, and Muay Thai Roundhouse Kick is no exception. Okay, I'm Paul Diachuk. Thank you for watching.